This is the EDC17, an ultra-slim flat EDC flashlight from Nitecore. It's capable of outputting an impressive 1500 lumens of brightness and can throw up to 230 meters. Plus, it has a green laser pointer and a UV lamp with not just one, but 3 levels of brightness, and it does all of this with a good old-fashioned analog switch. So, would you like me to test out this flashlight? Well, hit that like button and we'll get started. Let me start with a quick unboxing, and then let's just see the contents of the box. This is the Nitecore EDC17, and you could be forgiven for thinking that, oh, Nitecore now makes knives. No, they don't. This is a EDC flashlight, even though it looks very much like the handle of a folding knife or a box cutter in its design. But part of that is, the fact that this is a flattened EDC style profile, very common nowadays. The flat or wedge style EDC does fit in your pocket a lot easier than a typical round EDC, so it is ergonomic in terms of storage. But it's interesting that they chose to make this look very much like the handle of a folding blade. It's not very large. It's about a little less than 5 inches long, a little over an inch wide, and only a little over a half an inch thick, not including the very deep metal pocket clip there. And this is all metal construction, even though it is pretty light. For when I first picked it up, I thought it was a polymer, but no, this is a metal construction. It's just fairly lightweight for whatever alloy they're using. But it is pretty solid feeling. There's no creak or bend at all in the body. It does fit in your hand quite well, just like a handle of a folding knife or a box cutter, because this looks very much like a box cutter with this little thumb switch here. You think that this extends the blade, but no, this actually turns on the unit, because this is an analog activated unit. So you flip this forward and there's a little lock indicator, that is the locked out mode. Move it forward and you can see that it turns on the light. And you can also see how much of a charge you have there. This is pretty much fully charged, but we'll give this a full charge before we do any extensive testing. But yeah, you turn it on, and this has a mode light, but to change the brightness, you just move it forward. So that is its maximum, 1500 lumens, and you just slide it to get your different levels of brightness. And this button here changes the mode, so you get from your regular light mode to a laser to a UV light. And also interestingly, you can also select the brightness of the UV, and that's unusual. Usually, it's one of the few flashlights I know that you can switch the brightness of the UV. And again, you can switch it back to your white light there, and or laser, as the case may be. You got to remember that is the main function switch. To recharge it, you can see that what the charge is. There's a little flap at the other side, and that is a USB-C port. And we'll give this a full charge before giving it a test. And on the back side here, on the pommel end of the handle, there's a little bead there, and that is a glass cutter, a little gem. And you can remove that. It comes with just a plug in that doesn't have a glass breaker, not glass cutter, I should say, a glass breaker, and that's useful for getting out of a vehicle in an emergency, or getting somebody out of a vehicle in an emergency, and use that little bead to break the glass. But you can remove that should you need to by unscrewing that screw, and it comes with a little plug that doesn't have a glass breaker in there. Interesting, and certainly feels really good in the hand. Has some good checkering there for additional grip. So it feels really good in the hand. One concern I have, though, about the design is that it looks too much like a blade, and that I could see that you might get pulled aside in security, because people might think that this is a weapon or a blade, but it's not. It's just a flashlight, and you'll be able to, flashlights are perfectly fine to board in planes or go to events with, but I don't know, some hard-ass security guys might give you a stink eye, or just say you can't bring it in for whatever stupid reason, just because it looks too much like a blade. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too worried about that, but we'll give this a full recharge, and we'll give it a test next. I fully recharged the battery before starting the test and let the unit run for about 10 seconds to warm up the battery chemistry. As you can see, my testing rig is not a NASA-designed scientific instrument, but I have calibrated it to a reliable 100 lumen light source. Low. You can see the hot spot there. It's about 3 feet wide at this distance. This is medium, and this is high. Pretty bright. This is on low mode, medium, and high. And this is the laser. Industry standard drop tests are from 1 meter or 3 feet. I'm going to drop it from 6 feet twice onto rocks and dirt, so we'll see if it still works. The unit is IPX7 rated, which means that it can survive full water immersion for up to 10 minutes, so I thought I would test that along with its overall runtime when fully charged. After only about a minute and a half, the unit turned off. Of course, I didn't find out about this until about 10 minutes later when I came back to check on the flashlight. And the unit wouldn't turn back on, and my first thought was that water I must have gotten in, but after drying it off completely, I could find no water inside of the housing, and when I plugged it in, it recharged. So yes, it passed the waterproof test, kind of, but we still need to do the runtime test. I fully recharged the flashlight and it appears to be functioning normally. So I've set it on high, which is 1500 lumens, and we're going to see how long it will run starting at its maximum brightness. But don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit here for hours or however long it takes. I've set the camera on time-lapse mode, and we're going to speed things up. And while we're waiting to see the results, let's play a little game here. Why don't you put a little skin in the game? Let me know how many minutes you think this thing will run. And post that best guess in the comments. And no cheating now, no fast forwarding this. Put in your best guess. Now, what's surprising to me so far is that the flashlight hasn't gotten any dimmer, because many flashlights actually have built-in circuitry which automatically steps down or dims the brightness of the flashlight for a couple of reasons. One, to preserve the battery as well as to extend the overall runtime, but also to protect the electronics from overheating. So we're fast approaching 100 minutes here, which is well over an hour of runtime. So did you think it would last this long? Well, I didn't. Oh, there you go. It got really dim right there, and there we go. It's turned off. At 109 minutes and 48 seconds, which is actually a little bit better than the 105 minutes that Nitecore rates this flashlight to run from high mode. Before I get into what I think of the EDC17, I just want to remind you to hit that subscribe button. It just takes a second and it doesn't cost anything to become a subscriber. And if you are already a subscriber, thanks for doing that. And I'd also like to thank Nitecore for sending out the EDC17 for me to test out. This is a really nice flattened or a wedge style EDC. I'm not quite sure of the term that people tend to use nowadays, but it is a sort of a flattened square type of EDC. It fits really well in your pocket. And I just want to address one of the tests that I did earlier in the video where I tested this for both how waterproof it is. It is IPX rated to be waterproof for up to 10 minutes underwater. But during that test, I also did a runtime test, and it turned itself off after about 2 minutes. And I still can't figure out why it did that. I did send the video over to Nitecore, and they said that their engineers would be taking a look at it. So I'm waiting to hear back from them. But maybe if you have some thoughts as to why it turned itself off. The reason why I'm I'm confused about that is because it's not as if this failed the waterproof test. It totally did. I took it out of the water, dried it off, and there wasn't any water inside of the housing. No water had gotten in. But when I did my runtime test outside of the water and just regular air, it ran for, well, you saw how long it ran until the battery gave out. So yeah, it's not like this thing overheated or anything like that. At least I don't think so underwater. So yeah, I still don't know exactly why it turned itself off underwater. But otherwise, it functioned flawlessly. It recharged, and it is just really nicely built. It performs super bright. I love the fact that it has this analog switch, so I can easily go to the brightness that I want. It has this cool LED indicator to tell me how much of a charge it has, and it has the green laser. So overall, there's nothing I particularly think is flawed with this, except for perhaps how much it looks like a blade handle. That's the only thing that's perhaps a bit concerning to me. It looks a little too much like a box cutter or a folding knife, so I could see this potentially being an issue, maybe a minor issue if you had to go through TSA or the security check at a sporting event. They might pull you aside and give you a little bit of extra inspection because at first glance it may look like a blade, especially with this fattened pommel at the end here. Of course, anybody with any sense will quickly figure out that it's a flashlight and not a box cutter. But yeah, I could see that being a potential problem. Again, maybe I'm overthinking this. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. But if you are interested in picking up this really nice compact EDC light, it's got a street price of about $100. So yeah, it's not the cheapest out there, but considering its performance and build quality, and comes from Nitecore, which great engineering and good customer service. So yeah, totally fair price in my opinion. You can find more information as well as product links in the video description. And of course, you could always check out my website at moondogindustries.com for all of my product reviews and videos. So thanks for taking a moment to check out those links, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video. God bless. Moondog out. What did you think of the video? Leave me a comment. And you can always chat with me on X, Facebook, or Instagram. You can find useful links in the video description and check out my other videos, channels, and my website, moondogindustries.com.